Welcome to Power CEOs, the truth behind the business. I'm Jen Gaudet, your fearless host, entrepreneur, investor, and business strategist. Why are we here? Because iron sharpens iron. And when we bring successful entrepreneurs, investors, and industry leaders here to share what's working in business and maybe some of what's not, what we are all able to do is learn and grow. As a result, our businesses grow. And that ripple effect impacts not only ourselves and our teams, but also our communities and our world. You are in for a treat today because I have a very special guest here, fellow investor, fellow entrepreneur, and dear friend of mine, Randy Molland. What does Randy do? He is disrupting everything that we know to be in business by incorporating philanthropic giving into our products and services, so as we and our businesses grow, the impact that our businesses have grows along with it. Welcome to the studio, Randy.
Thanks so much for having me here. It's going to be amazing.
Oh, yes it is. And did I put it out there right? It's disrupting capitalism.
That's the whole goal of this game, is we are really trying to change the way entrepreneurship is done and get rid of that kind of like greedy capitalistic type mindset that's been out there for so long, where we just make money for ourselves. What if you could make money for yourselves and do some really good work in the world?
Yeah, and so Randy, let's dive right in, because I am all about impact. Why am I on television? I hate cameras. Y'all all know this. I've shared this before. I hate being on camera. It's very nerve-wracking for me. It's hard for me to be here. However, it's more important that I bring my connections to you and you can learn from them. That's so much more important than any discomfort. So how is it that you have brought this into the world with what you are doing?
Yeah, it started a few years ago when I felt burnt out, exhausted, tired, and I was trying to build a business like so many people in this world, but didn't know how to actually feel fulfilled in doing it. And I heard a quote that changed my life forever. And they said, if you want to make $1 million a year, build a business that does $2 million, give $1 million away, and you become the happiest millionaire on the planet. And that's what changed everything for me. The philosophy that chasing money wasn't going to make me happy, but doing something for good or making an impact would. And that's when I started adding impact into all my businesses to allow me to start feeling fulfilled and happy and excited when I was building the businesses, instead of feeling burnt out, exhausted, and stressed out.
And so, let's put a pause and a pin in that, because you had a life before this life, and you were part of the FIRE movement. And I want to address it because it's a big deal, and people want to, the FIRE movement has caught a lot of traction. There's a lot of people trying to hurry up and do all the things and make all the money so that they're financially independent, and they're experiencing the same thing. They're experiencing that burnout. Yeah. Talk to me about that aspect and that trajectory so that we can kind of have the backstory.
Yeah, a little bit of the backstory is I was 25 years old. I bought my first house, and one of my mentors said to me, Randy, in 25 years when you pay this thing off, you're going to be 50 and you're going to be financially free and you're going to be living this dream life. And I was like, that sounds amazing. That sounds really good. And it sounded really good until 2 weeks after I bought my house. He unfortunately passed away. And he was 42 years old. And I had this realization of this 42-year-old told me how great life was going to be when I was 50. But I just watched him pass away at 42. And that's when I realized I wanted to change my life. So like any good millennial, I Googled how to make money and how to make a ton of money and never work again. And that's when I found real estate investing. And it said if you just show up, you invest in real estate, and you do what you're supposed to do, you'll live a really good life. And so that's what I built. I built a pretty successful real estate investment company with this idea of going to be able to retire by the time I'm 30 and change my life. The thing that they don't tell you is how hard it is to be an entrepreneur and how hard it is to build a business. It's really amazing as this kind of like side hustle to your life. If you have a very good income and you can buy some real estate on the side and start substituting for it. I didn't do that. I just left my industry and went all in on it. And it's amazing. I learned so much stuff. But it is not just a kind of passive freedom that you get to create. You're building a business and you're getting stressed out and you're constantly chasing markets and ups and downs and having to educate yourself all the time. So it's not just this really easy movement that people have made it sound like. It's a lot of work and there's a lot of stuff that goes into it.
And there's a lot of sacrifice. Let's be real. Entrepreneurship has a lot of sacrifice. And that story of you, a lot of our viewers and listeners, they feel that. Whether they're an entrepreneur or an executive, you work a lot of hours. Your blood, sweat, and tears is poured into your career, your business, whatever. And at the end of the day, we feel kind of drained and depleted. And so you started that way, you pivoted, and now you have something that you're fired up all day, every day. You get to serve, you get to have a business that is on purpose, an on-purpose business. I love that terminology. And so how can we as entrepreneurs in our respective industries start incorporating that passion, that purpose, that on purpose mentality into our business?
Yeah, it started for me in my real estate industry where I said, what if I started donating $10 per door per month for my real estate portfolio? And I said, that's kind of simple. Any 10plex I buy, it donates $100 a month. And any 20plex I buy, it donates $200 a month. And I said, this is kind of a cool passive income scenario. And the mentality we supported was, we supported an organization called Kids Sport Victoria. And for every $300, you can put one kid through sport. Well, we realized for every 30 units we bought, we could put one kid through sport every single month. And now it became, well, how many units can we buy to help more kids? And we completely got rid of this like financial freedom and living this like really luxurious life. And like it all just became about, holy smokes, we can help a lot of kids with this. And so that's how we started implementing it into our real estate culture. And then we launched a mastermind and we said, why don't we donate $250 from every membership that comes? And then we went and go on to more stuff. And that's when we realized the bigger we went, the more we could give. We need to go big to give big. Once I got into that space and it became like our hashtag and everything talked about, you know it as well. When you start talking about something that is a little bit game changing, that people want to learn about, all of a sudden we had some people reaching out saying like, hey, can you teach us how to do that? Yep. Can you teach us how to have more impact? You look very happy. You're really excited every day. You're talking about all the people you're helping and you never really talk about your business. And that's when I realized there was a cool opportunity to go out there and help more businesses feel the same way that I was feeling.
And you really have, and you're doing amazing things in the world. And so talk to me about what is it like on the business owner side when we work with people, with you as a strategist to come in and partner with some of these giving initiatives.
Yeah, some of the key components I'd like to start with is, if you guys didn't know this, 89% of consumers are more likely to work from or buy from a company that has a giving initiative, and that scales up to almost 95% for millennial females. And when we start talking as business owners, when we talk about taking more attention or trying to draw people into our business, we're normally happy to talk in the 15, 20, 30%. We have an opportunity now with the way the world's going and things are shifting to capture 89 to 95%. So that is a huge statistic. So when we go into businesses, we work with them from the top down to say, when somebody hears about you on a podcast, when they hear about your stuff and they're attracted to you, what are you talking about? Your business is great, but when you talk about mental health and stuff, you light up. You're a whole different person, and that's what actually draws people in. So they hear that, then how do they talk about it on their websites? So when they go to their website, what does it look like? And then when they go to their social media, what does it look like? And how do we drip that campaign in all the way through to the sales and the execution of the business so that the client feels from the minute they talk to you to the minute they buy your product and execute with you, they feel that impact of what's truly happening behind the scenes. And that eliminates a lot of the challenges we've seen where people say it's false marketing or advertising, that you're just trying to get leads and clicks. When people talk to you and I, they truly understand the passion, the purpose coming out, because we talk about it from who we are as a person all the way through down to how our clients handle us.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And I really love the "become the happiest millionaire on earth" quote that you have. And when I think about it, and I think about something that you shared just with a group last night, and it's the simple little things that change. And it could be as simple as 10% of every coaching package or 10% of every shoe that is sold goes to a certain way. So it really isn't that difficult to incorporate this into our structure. And I also believe that people are willing to pay a little bit more for a company that has an initiative. Can you speak to that and how that looks on the entrepreneur side?
Yeah, so again, I have a bunch of statistics, and statistics are statistics. That's what they are. What the actual buyers of what's happening isn't tracked in this, but when people's mindsets are in this percentage, that's what we're talking about here. So 78% of consumers said they'd be more willing to pay for a product that has a purpose or initiative behind it than one that didn't. That's a substantial amount of number, and that leads into companies sharing that companies that had impact made on average $9 more per client compared to their competitors. So they're charging more for their products, they're doing more good, and that's where the clients are going, or the consumers are going and where they want to go. So we're really seeing that become a huge part of the marketing and the impact that we're really trying to create in it. And it's allowing them as business owners to really reframe and repackage everything they're doing to go and create more revenue, create more impact along the way. And the reason why we talk about kind of putting them together is because as they start making that money and as they scale that revenue, because they're a really good company, they're going to do good on the impact on the backside because they're going to honor that word. So it's this really good trajectory of both things going up at the same time.
Absolutely. And in a world where nobody is loyal to brands anymore, everybody's shifting for every reason. We have economic strain, so we're now back to price shopping. It's so important that we reflect the values that we have as entrepreneurs. Our businesses need to reflect our values, and when we are able to do that and give and then actually talk about it, which is coming in the next segment, because I know that objection.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to talk about it. It doesn't feel right. We're going to overcome that objection and so much more. So stick around. We will be right back after these messages. Welcome back to Power CEOs, the truth behind the business. We are here in studio with Randy Molland with Go Big to Give Big. We are talking about if we want an additional $1 million in revenue, why not generate two and give one of those away? And actually, I think I misspoke. That's another $1 million in profit and give $1 million away. But we have been talking about how to incorporate giving initiatives in our business. It's kind of easy to do. We've talked about how consumer behavior has shifted and loyalty has shifted to companies that share values with our customers and our consumers. Now, I'm going to ask the question, Randy. Like, we grew up, I was raised in if it's giving, we don't talk about it. Yeah. So how do we overcome those feelings of, well, giving, it's not really giving if I'm benefiting from it? What does this look like? How do we overcome that objection and bring this into our marketing so that people understand who we are and what we stand for? Totally.
The first thing I always say to people is like, what you give personally, nobody else needs to know about. But what I do in my business, that's what I want to share with the world, right? So I still, in my own personal life, what I give to, nobody even knows. That's where we're allowed to have that personal conversation. But as a business owner, you have employees. And when you make a donation from your business, that's because your employees helped you generate revenue. So if you don't share about that impact and what you're creating, then you're actually robbing your employees of that ability to feel that same kind of excitement and impact that you're creating. So that's why it's so important that we as business owners talk about it, but also in the consumer world. When we start talking to consumers, if 89% of people, which is a stat we talked about earlier, are moving over to companies that are giving back and talking about their impact, you lose that if you don't talk about it. And if you're one of the good companies doing the good, then you're going to want to share that with the world. So that's kind of how we're able to start having these conversations to say, hey, we want your team to know about it, we want you to know your customers about it, and we want to be able to promote the nonprofits. Oftentimes, on some of the other shows, we talk about the nonprofits and how we can support them. Well, if you keep that to yourself, then you're also not allowing that nonprofit to grow and scale and be shown to the world.
That's absolutely right. And it's actually a selfish act to not be sharing that because they're not getting that exposure. Now talk on the other side, because this is a partnership. And so we are supporting nonprofits. And let's be real, nonprofits are still a business. They're still a business. They're still growing. They're doing amazing work in our world. What does a partnership with a nonprofit actually look like when we incorporate these? It's kind of like an embedded partnership into our business.
Yeah, when I first started out, we were supporting an organization called Kids Sport Victoria, and we are consistently donating to them from our real estate portfolio. Well, one of the most amazing things was during the pandemic, when a lot of other people weren't donating, they couldn't run events anymore, they lost a lot of their ability to generate revenue. Our business still supported them. And so that partnership allowed them to feel confident moving forward, knowing that they were still going to receive our donations consistently from it. So as we start looking at nonprofits and our ability as entrepreneurs and business owners to support them consistently on a monthly basis, it allows them to make stronger decisions in their business, because when they go out and try and raise money, oftentimes they'll run one event and they'll make $200,000 from their event. They have to budget their entire year on that, and if they have unexpected expenses. Whereas people like you and I can go in there and we can say, hey, what if we donated $1,000 a month? That allowed you to start hiring your employees and doing that. And now when you get that $200,000 event coming in, that's to go make impact and do more good and grow and expand. So that's where we're seeing there's a big support in the partnership for what we're doing, and the exposure, like I said earlier, of being able to promote them. What's really cool is the amount of people now that supported Kids Sport Victoria after I started talking about it. All these people now are going, I want to support that charity too. I want to support them and help them grow and be a part of it as well.
That's so fantastic. So the impact is the ripple effect is evident there. And so now I'm going to ask the next question, because you just brought up something, and that's, if I'm going to support and do this partnership, what if I have a cyclical business, or what if I have a seasonal business and I can't afford to donate in some months because I don't have much revenue in those months? Those are my lean months. What about those businesses?
Yeah, there's so many ways to give, and so there's 4 kind of main key components. And one is you do like a 1-for-1 model, which is every time X happens in my business, I give Y. So you could give a piece of product away, where maybe it's a little bit cheaper for you as the owner. You don't pay full price for product. Can you give that away? So 1-for-1 models, it can be a product or a dollar amount. You can give a percentage of, so that as your revenues go up, if they come back down, your percentage is still equivalent to where the money is going up and down. The third thing is you can volunteer time. You can actually say, hey, every time I do X, I'm going to give Y time away. So for some of our organizations, we actually volunteer and offer our services for free for nonprofits. So now I can say, hey, every time 5 people hire us on this end, we go and support a nonprofit on this end. And that allows us to donate our time instead of dollars. And then the fourth thing is like a human benefit. So an example of that could be if you had a real estate portfolio, every 10 units that you rent out, what if you rented 1 at a discounted rate to a single mom or to somebody struggling? So now you're doing it as kind of a human benefit to be able to help more people in your community that way. So those are 4 key ways, and all 4 of those can be adjusted with the scaling of your revenues. And that's what we're really trying to teach. Giving doesn't have to mean you give the most amount of money. It matters that you give and that you're making an impact and trying to do your best.
Well, and this is really about the energetics of money. And I know that sounds woo-woo. It is totally not. Like, we must add value in order to receive revenue. That's the equation. In entrepreneurship, we solve big world problems. We have monetary success. Our financials are a lagging indicator of the value that we bring. And so there is kind of an energetic to this. And so as we are giving, we know that is going to come back in a different way. Even if it comes back initially as, I feel good about this. This is filling my cup. This is something that I want to do. I am a purpose-driven human being, and I do purpose-driven work. But it is even more powerful when I can go and hands-on do something that's a voluntary situation. And so if I'm doing that and I'm donating my time, then that fills the purpose cup for us. And as a result, we're a higher performer. I'm more lit up to show up for the things that I don't like so much in business. Because let's be real, when we are an entrepreneur, there's stuff that we don't necessarily like to do or want to do that is energy robbing, and we have to balance that a little bit. It's just a fact of life. If you're an executive, same story. Doesn't matter what our role is, there's always something that we have to do that we always put in that time block and we go, ugh. Well, when we're doing the things that give back and we're fulfilled and we're energized, that happens a lot faster as well.
So much. And we can maybe touch on this in a little bit or however you want, but the impact that happens inside your team and culture is something that we can do a whole segment on because it's so powerful. What happens when you actually start talking about the impact from the top down to your team and what you can actually do for bringing in talent to your team and doing that kind of stuff? But when we talk about now is your physiology completely changes when you start talking about impact and giving. Imagine you did that on a sales call. Imagine you're sitting there talking to somebody, and instead of being like, oh, I have to pitch this person again, you can say, oh my God, how I'm excited. I can't wait to get to part of my pitch where I get to talk about the impact that I'm making. And that's what I've absolutely loved doing now, is helping organizations understand your sales pitch. You have to sell the product. You have to be able to get people to come in the door for what they want, right? People want to buy from what they want to buy from. But then once we get them excited, how do we talk about the impact and the work that we want to do inside of our businesses so that the clients see us on a human-to-human level? They see us going, wow, I really like their heart. I really like how they show up. I really like who they are. And I love their product. Now it becomes a no-brainer to buy from them. And that's what we like to see inside the sales process to build it all the way down. And then you, on the call, you physically sit up better. You get more excited. You get more passionate. You get more fire. And on the other end, they can feel that excitement as opposed to the same old, yeah, I'm excited to sell you this product. You find a new way to get excited. And when you start closing deals and you start seeing that impact happen, it gets addicting. Sales gets addicting when you know the impact on the other side. When we were putting kids through sports, 30 units, it was like, how do we get 30 units faster and faster and faster? Because that means we get to help more kids.
Yeah, it really is kind of like a snowball effect. It's an ever-growing situation, and it impacts our business. It impacts everything, the ripple effect. We definitely will dive into the team and the culture in the next segment. But before we do break, what is the first step to get started? If people are watching, people are listening, and they're like, wow, I'm fired up, I want to do something. What's the first step that they can take?
I've interviewed over 50 entrepreneurs in a little segment, and I asked them all, I taught them all the skills of how to do it, and then at the end I asked them also who here actually built it in or who did it, and very few, literally like 5 out of 50 people had actually built it in, and the number one reason why they didn't is because they didn't feel like they had the time, they didn't feel like they knew what to do, and they felt lost along the way. So what we do is we simplify it. Take one product, find one charity, and just make the work start. The biggest thing is when you actually start simple and you start giving right away, you can build on the snowball. But if you come in and you say, I'm gonna build this huge giving project and we're gonna go change all these lives and we're gonna donate hundreds of thousands of dollars, oftentimes it becomes overwhelming. And when it gets overwhelming, you typically don't perform on it. So what we do is we find one product, one initiative, one charity, and we say, hey, I'm going to donate $10 for every door that we buy, and we're going to donate to this charity. Simple and easy, and then from there we start compounding on how do you tie it into all the different products and services and different charities and all that different stuff on the back end. But starting simple and making it easy is the best thing to do.
Okay, fantastic. Well, you just got your action step for the day. If you don't have giving initiatives already in your business, figure out what you're passionate about. What is it that you want that giving initiative to be, and start with one product and donate a percentage. That's the easiest thing to do. Donate a percentage of all the sales of that product and get the ball started. We will be right back after these messages. Welcome back to Power CEOs, Truth Behind the Business. If you're just tuning in, you're going to want to go to nowmedia.tv, click on shows, and go to Power CEOs, catch the first half of today's segment. Why? Because we are here with Randy Molland, and we are talking about truly disrupting our businesses by incorporating giving initiatives into our products and services, so it just is easy to amplify the impact that we're having, not only with our products and services, but also in our communities and in our world. Randy, before the break, we touched on this. We teased the topic of what happens from a cultural standpoint in our organizations when we do this, when we implement these initiatives. Give me the details.
It is honestly one of my favorite things that I do is when I go into an organization, and as I shared earlier, we're able to say like, hey, the impact that you make, your team helped you get that. Now you get to share that with them. It allows them to really want to stay in your organization. So some of the things that we see is the ability that it can actually bring in better talent. So you can get more talent that wants to come work for your organization and be a part of it because of the impact that you're making. And one of the other things is that the longevity of your employees wanting to stay. So they will stay longer, and I think the stat was like 93% of employees said they would stay with their employers longer if they had an impact initiative or shared about it. Isn't that crazy? 93% of people.
That's a huge amount.
And there was a stat out that I read that 50% of people aren't happy with their employer right now. So if you have your impact initiative, you communicate it well, and you have employees on the other side of businesses that aren't happy with their employers, they're likely going to start looking for new places. And if you have that place for them to go, you can, I don't want to use the word poach, but you can attract really incredible talent to your organization by being impact driven.
You know, and it truly is a generational shift there. We're seeing the younger employees, the younger professionals, they really care about having that social initiative or that environmental initiative, and they are literally choosing their place of work based off of what initiatives we're going. So if we are actually giving already and we don't talk about it, we don't attract that talent because we're afraid to talk about it.
There's a story I'd love to share is a guy I know, he donates $500,000 a year. Really incredible, successful entrepreneur. And he said it was his best kept secret. And I asked him a question. I said, how good do you feel when you write those checks at the end of the day? And he said, Randy, it's one of my favorite things about my business. And I said, so why are you being so selfish and not sharing that with your employees? And he just like instantly was like, I never thought of it that way, that I was robbing my employees of feeling that same impact by not sharing it with them. So when we can actually start from leadership, build it down, now what we can do is we can go to our sales teams and we can say, hey, sales team, every time you sell this product, this is the impact that happens. Well, now your sales team is motivated by the impact they can create more than the money they earn. And what that does, that creates a really cool culture. And if they don't fit in that culture, you can let them go and find new people that do fit into that culture. And now your entire sales team is built around how much impact can we create versus how much dollar revenue can we bring in.
And actually that fosters collaboration, and we're more team oriented, whereas traditional sales team tends to, they're competitive with one another because of performance-based pay, all the different things, which, as entrepreneurs, we like performance-based pay. We don't want to have somebody getting paid for no results. Really. But we can actually foster that teamwork and that collaboration by incorporating some of these giving initiatives.
Yeah, and earlier we talked about, 89% of people are more attracted to buy from or work from organizations that have impact initiatives. When you do your job postings, and in your posting you say we're an impact-driven company and we want to make a change in the world, you're actually drawing those same people that are comparing jobs to each other to say, I actually want to work for this organization. So it doesn't just start from saying, like the CEO saying, I want to give. It's all the way from the job description. It's like we talked about from the customer journey of when they see you on social media, we have to make sure that they follow all the journey all the way through. It's the same thing when people hire you. They want to see the journey from start to finish. When I get hired, I came in because I loved the impact of this company. And then I come on and I see the impact happening, and then it gets talked about, and then we close a deal and this is the impact that happens. That builds the longevity of the employee that wants to stay and do longer.
And in today's competitive culture, employee retention is one of the top key topics, because there's not enough skilled labor for the jobs that are available, and there's not enough A players, and we want to attract, as entrepreneurs, we always want the A players. We don't want the D and E players. We want the A players, and the A players want impact. So as we're able to talk about this and share about this, we're able to retain and attract that talent, and that only benefits everything else. So let me ask you the next question that I have, and that's, how do we determine what charity is right for our business? Do we go to our employees and ask? Do we go with ourselves? How does that look for an organization?
That's an open-ended question for a very challenging answer.
I didn't promise any easy questions.
There is always that battle of, do you include your employees in it? Do you not include your employees? Is it the CEO's vision? Is it not the CEO's vision? I found the easiest way to do it is for the CEO to make a decision, to show their commitment to impact for themselves. We talked about earlier what's the easiest way to do it. Find one product, put one initiative to it. Once you've got that, then you can start talking to some of your employees, and you can start saying, hey, what I do in my organization now is I create ebooks, and we say, hey, employee number one, we're going to create this product over here, and anything we make from it, we're going to donate 100% of it to your charity of choice. And now that employee gets to choose their charity of choice, they love their mission, and anytime we sell that product, it gets to go to their charity. Well, now that employee is never going to want to leave the company, because if they leave, that donation doesn't continue to go for them. Mm-hmm. But they're also really attached to wanting to sell this product more and do more good. So that's how we're kind of allowing that drip to come into the employees that way a little bit, to allow them to see the decisions. And then on the other side is just the volunteering. That's a really easy one. Go to your employees and start asking around, what causes or what things could we volunteer to make a bigger impact in our community? Everybody knows somewhere that they can go make some more support. So on top of just doing the product and giving it away, we talk a little bit about the volunteering when we start including our team in that and saying, hey, instead of saying, hey guys, we're going to clean up the beach today, it's like, oh great, I'm going to go clean up the beach. It's like, as a collective, what do we really want to do? What impact do we want to make? And maybe you get somebody that says, hey, I want to go provide backpacks to the homeless. And everybody in the room goes, that's it. Well, now you can go create that initiative as a team and go make that work happen. So that is a long-winded answer to your what charity do we pick, but there's so many different ways to do it, and that's a way that you can incorporate your team members or do your own, but always start at the top, pick your own, and then scale down after.
And what an amazing team building activity as well, because when we give, we know that we have more satisfaction, it lowers stress, we're present, we're there for somebody else. There's all these feel-good aspects that we're now gifting to our employees when we actually do go and volunteer together.
100%. It's the culture inside companies, and I don't know the exact stats, but it says the reduced stress, the reduced anxiety, the reduced problems that they face, and their ability to problem solve faster all gets better as they do more philanthropic giving. It's crazy the stats of how great our bodies respond to doing impact or doing good. That reduces stress.
Right, and do you have any examples of this? Of a giving initiative where that's come back and that feeling, can you give me an example?
Oh yeah, there's so many. I have like 100 stories of impact or giving. One great one is my team and I, there's a really cool charity called Give a Mile. And you can take the points from your visa and donate them to support somebody that's in hospice, to bring their family to them that can't afford it. And so when I went to my team, I said, hey, this is the work that we want to do. We want to go take our points that we've earned by spending money in our company, and we're going to support this family. And I brought them along the way with me. And I showed them the family we helped, the emails we did, the person we sent across, and everything that happened. And they actually went and shared that on their social medias. They went and shared it with their families, and they went and shared it everywhere to say, oh my God, look at this really incredible family that we just helped that wasn't going to get to see their mom before she passed away. And everyone kind of like teared up on the call as we were going through it, but they went and shared it with their families, and all of a sudden they started coming back to the calls and saying, Randy, my family loves the work that we did. My family's so excited. And so now we're taking that like culture of giving and the emotional support that it creates and bringing it into other people's home lives as well, of saying, wow, how amazing was that feeling? And they get to spread that love and joy now everywhere they go to their families.
That's so fantastic. And so if we are going to start this, and we're going to start this, it's a movement.
Yeah.
Where do you see it going? Like once you get this ball rolling, like what is something that we can expect, and where is it heading?
We're completely disrupting consumerism. That's the whole product here, is that there's going to be a world where you will not be able to create a business that doesn't have an impact initiative to it. You will not be able to do that without having an impact initiative in it, because you'll get left behind. Right? There's so much data and so much progress towards this that if you don't start giving, nobody's going to want to buy your products. And it's like I kind of alluded to like social media in 2009, when you would say, hey, I don't really think I need social media to grow my business. It'd be kind of cool and it's a nice way. But now, if you don't have social media in your business, you're missing a huge market and a huge opportunity. It's going to be the same for impact in businesses. In 5-10 years from now, if you don't have impact, you're going to be sitting there going like, oh my God, I wish I started this 10 years ago, because I would have been able to capture more talent, I would have been able to get more products sold, I would have been able to have a bigger impact. So we're really trying to lead that way on disrupting the way that businesses are built and changing kind of what we call the greedy capitalist mindset, where it's, hey, I want to make money so that I can be rich and I can get all my nice stuff, to saying, hey, I can still get rich and still have all the nice stuff, but what if I did some good along the way?
Mm-hmm. And what a feel good that is.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are going to take a brief break, but we'll be right back after these messages. Welcome back to Power CEOs, the truth behind the business. We are here with Randy Molland, and we are talking about incorporating giving initiatives into our products and services in our business. And I want to ask you, Randy, we've covered a lot of ground today. We've talked about how to do this, what the logistics looks like, how to pick a charity, how to get our team involved, the culture, all the benefits of doing this, and really the disruption that you're doing. Tell me about the moment when you knew that this was the path for you.
Yeah, it's a pretty special story. And so one of my friends owns an orphanage in Mexico, and it's for children that have been sex trafficked. And he invited me down. He said, Randy, I want you to come spend the entire day down here, and I want you to just get to know the kids. Seeing a white male interact in a loving way would mean the world to them. And so I went down there and I spent some time, and as we were hanging out with the girls and just loving on them, it crushed me to even know it was like what they had been through. Yet they were happy and they were enjoying themselves. And so I said to my friend, I said, like, what can I do to like bring them something nice? Like, how can we make their day for them? And he's like, they love ice cream. And I was like, let's do it. Let's go get some ice cream. So we literally spent $50 on ice cream. And we went to the store and we came back, and I gave ice cream to all these little girls, and watching them laugh and feel so good, and sitting back and sitting there thinking, $50 literally just made those kids the happiest they've been in what they've gone through. And I thought, why can't I do that every day? If it was literally just $50 to help those kids that have gone through some of those painful, challenging things in their life, and we can do that over and over and over again, why wouldn't we want to do that for our own personal well-being? And that's what really started the whole journey for me, was how do I find that emotion and that feeling again and just deliver it over and over and over.
That's a really powerful story. And so as we sit here and people are watching and people are listening, how can they pull that in? How can they incorporate that into what they're looking to do?
Yeah, there's so many different ways, and I like to simplify it as down as I can to just get people in the right mindset to start with. And so I'll share another story. It's how I like to kind of lead in, because then people can understand it. But it's like my wife and I went out for dinner, and we spent $100 and 90 minutes eating dinner. That $100 bought us 90 minutes of happiness, but we never really talked about that dinner again. It was like, cool, that dinner's over, and we didn't talk about the food or the drink or anything anymore. And I thought there's got to be a better way. And so I said, what if we took that same $100, same 90 minutes, and we went and served our community? So we went and bought a bunch of donuts, and we went down to a homeless shelter, and we spent the same $100 and the same 90 minutes, but we served our community. And what that did is that created a memory of a lifetime for my wife and I that we still talk about today, and it was over a year ago that we did the work. And now that is something that we continuously do in our relationship for us to build strength and create memories that if we donated $100 a month and 90 minutes, everyone has $100 and everyone has 90 minutes. If you don't go out for dinner or you don't do something like that, we can make it work. What kind of memories are you creating for your family that we're able to do that with? And
then extrapolating that into business, what kind of memories are we creating? What kind of impact are we making with our teams and in our communities? It's kind of an exponential situation. So what I'm hearing, and I'm a coach. We're both coaches actually, at heart. And so, I want an action step around this, and I just heard an action step. Take 90 minutes and $100. Like whatever you were going to spend on dinner, don't go to dinner. Take that money, take that time, and do something positive for your community with it. And in my mind, it's do something that you're passionate about.
Yeah.
Like, for me personally, I'm very passionate about health. I really believe that everybody should have access to health and mental health in particular. And so that's where I choose to spend my time and my resources. But find what that is for you and take action on that. And so, Randy, is there anything else that you really want to share with our audience today?
Now, there's a few things that I just want to make sure we recap because it's so important to talk about is when we talk about our marketing, we need to make sure that we are prioritizing it in a way that's in a positive light. So many times I see businesses, they write these really nice newsletters, and then at the very bottom they put a little asterisk that says, and we give a portion of this. And when you're scrolling through and you see that, you go, do they really care? Right? It's like all this incredible stuff about their business and then one little snippet about the impact. What if on the titles it said, hey, here's our cool new initiative or a cool new product mixed in with the impact that we want to create. And then as they read newsletters, as they read social posts, they can see it woven all the way through. And that's something that I just wanted to make sure that everyone knows because so many times in that space of we don't want to publicly talk about what we want to do, we end up having a bit of a scarcity line at the bottom, being like, is my audience going to take this or this or not? But it actually causes people to be deterred from it because they lose that trust in your business that you actually want to make the difference.
Mm-hmm. And so shout it loud and proud. Have it in the headlines. Talk about the partnership.
Absolutely.
Make sure that we have that set and weave it into everything that we do. And it's so true because we've talked about this. I have giving initiatives and I don't talk about it at all because I was raised that if it's giving, you cannot have any kind of personal gain out of it. And so, personal giving versus business, but I brought that into the business as well. And so many times we talk about this, as soon as I mention the initiative, everybody's like, wow, I didn't know you did that. And then they're like, okay, well, how can I be a part of that? Or how do I do this too? So it really is a wave. It's something that we're seeing. And so you facilitate this. This is what you do. This is your business. How can people who want to get these initiatives into their companies and really start to make this impact difference, how can they reach out to you? How can they engage with you? What does that look like?
Yeah, the one thing I just want to say is that a lot of people are brilliant minds. They can come up with the impact initiative and they know how to do the good. But the one thing that they struggle with is the execution. And that's what we've been able to come in and solve for a lot of companies is they didn't need the strategy on how to do it. They were just so busy, like you and I. Our phones have probably got tons of text messages just from the time we've been on this call.
Don't want to know what that is.
And so that's, when we start talking about impact, that's one of the harder things that we implement is that after we go and do all of our work in the day, it's like, now I got to give. That seems like so much work. So we've created like a done-for-you type system that allows us to go in and create the impact in your organization for you so that you can continue to run your business. That is one of the biggest things that we found stop people from giving. And so if they are interested, they can reach out to us on gobigtogivebig.com. That's where we've got all of our resources. We've got communities, we've got consulting, we've got a foundation of our own that they can support, and there's a ton of resources from podcast to blog to everything that you could ever imagine, and they can reach out and support us from there.
That's fantastic. And before we wrap, Randy, how do we figure out what's the right nonprofit to partner with?
Yeah, oftentimes that's probably one of the number one questions that I get asked. And that's what I support a lot of companies with, is because they always say, oh my God, I didn't know if I want to do this or that or that. And when there's indecision, there's no decision. And so oftentimes what we do is we start getting down to the why. Why does this mean something to you? And oftentimes it comes when I ask the question and say, so what charity do you want to donate to? And they go, oh, I want to donate to cancer. And you're like, but why? What would it mean? And they start going down these stories of, oh, well, I didn't want to tell you, but my aunt had passed away from breast cancer, and my mom had done this, and then all of a sudden you start getting into the why. That's how we know the bucket of impact that we want to make. So is that cancer, child sex trafficking, kids in sports? There's so many different buckets that we can choose. We find the bucket, and then it's all about just finding the right partnership with the nonprofit, that they want to partner with you. They want to collaborate and share messages. That's so important that you can conversely pass back and forth. We've talked a lot about our friends Baseball Face Cares and the impact that they actually do, providing photos and videos to you to say, here's the impact, here's actually what happened with your dollars. That can have a huge relationship to you as the person donating to get in. So those are the things that I've found to be best. And we could obviously go way deeper into what it is, but it's finding an emotional connection, pairing it to an organization that you feel connected to and that you can relate to, and typically have a phone conversation with to make sure that you know what they're good for. And then obviously you can go through and vet their financials and stuff. And like we shared, it's nonprofits are businesses. They have overhead, and we need to make that conversation. Okay, there's a lot of nonprofits I talk to that are trying to beat the stigma of that right now, where it's not all about, oh, they gave 100% of their money away. They're businesses, they have their overhead. So as long as it's about 80% of money going towards causes is the threshold. So 20% going towards overhead.
That's a great way for us to kind of look at it. Thank you for that. And we are about to wrap. So once again, how can people reach out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. If you go to gobigtogivebig.com, that's where you can do it, or on social media. I'm pretty active on talking to people. If you just look up @Randy Molland, I love these conversations. I love supporting people. One of my favorite things, we do what I call a consultation by donation. So if somebody wants to come in and have us just do a quick overview of their business, I just say, cool, make a donation to charity, and I'll come and give you a quick overview of your business. It's a simple way for us to make some impact and a good way for us to hold them accountable to the work that we do. So we do a lot of really cool stuff like that, where everything in our business has some sort of impact attached to it.
Yeah, and I love that because they're already starting the giving initiative. You've already had them donate to charity, so they already kind of are in that mindset. Thank you so much for your expertise and for coming and sharing with us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This has been absolutely amazing.
Absolutely. And you, yes, you, it is that time. You know it's coming. We have an action step. If we don't take action today on something that you heard from Randy, whether it's the 90-minute, $100, go do something in your own community personally, whether it's reaching out to Randy or checking out some of his podcasts and finding out how you can integrate your first giving initiative into your business. Whatever that is, the time to take action is right now, not tomorrow and not next week, but right now, so that we can start to have that positive momentum, growing our business, growing the impact that we're having, and really see that shift and experience that ripple effect. Unfortunately, all good things do come to an end, including this show. But the good news is we'll be here same time, same station next week. So until then, win today, win this week, and we'll see you next time.
This has been a Now Media Networks feature presentation. All rights reserved.